The ice just cracked beneath my boots and the entire slab shifted 2 meters sideways. This chunk broke off Petermann Glacier 6 hours ago and is already disintegrating. Petermann Glacier loses roughly 4 billion tons of ice annually through calving events. 12 hours earlier, I boarded a research vessel at Ilulissat to document Arctic ice loss firsthand. The vessel carried 8 researchers and enough supplies for 72 hours at sea. The Greenland coast disappeared behind us within 40 minutes of departure. Diska Bay contains icebergs carved from Cermak-Kugelek Glacier, which moves at 40 meters per day. These icebergs can reach heights of 100 meters with 90% of their mass submerged. The expedition leader said we would reach the ice pack edge by mid-morning. I need to reach the meltwater lake at the iceberg center to collect surface temperature data. Surface meltwater on icebergs absorbs solar radiation at 9 times the rate of bare ice. That feedback loop means this lake could bore through the entire iceberg within 48 hours. The surface here looks stable, but the ice is only 8 centimeters thick over the melt channel. One wrong step and I drop into sub-zero water with no rescue vessel within 20 kilometers. Arctic sea ice extent has declined by 40% since satellite monitoring began in 1979. Current models project ice-free Arctic summers as early as 2035 under business-as-usual emissions. That would permanently alter global weather patterns and eliminate polar bear habitat across the region.
The open lead stretches 15 meters between ice fragments with currents visible beneath the dark surface.
I need to cross this lead to reach the pressure ridge formation on the far side. The pressure ridge formed when 2 ice sheets collided, creating walls of compressed ice up to 10 meters high. Ice density is 917 kilograms per cubic meter, meaning roughly 90% remains submerged. The underwater portion of this ridge likely extends another 90 meters below the surface in a massive jumbled keel.
Light penetrates the turquoise meltwater, revealing ancient air bubbles trapped within the glacial ice matrix.
The ice arch ahead was carved by wave action and wind erosion over several weeks of drifting. Arctic ice arches like this one are transient structures that collapse without warning as melt weakens their crown. Standing directly beneath the arch crown, which is only 2 meters of ice holding 8 tons overhead. Blue color comes from ice absorbing red wavelengths and transmitting blue light through centuries of compression. I need to find the highest point on this iceberg to get a signal flare visible to any passing vessel. Arctic temperatures have risen 4 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times, which is triple the global average. That Arctic amplification is accelerating ice loss faster than any climate model predicted even 5 years ago.
A massive calving event sends a wall of ice 60 meters tall crashing into the sea, creating a 3-meter wave.
That calving just reduced the total iceberg mass by approximately 200,000 tons. The wave from that calving will reach our position in approximately 90 seconds at an estimated height of 1 meter. The summit gives me 360 degrees of open ocean with 0 vessels on the horizon. The research vessel was supposed to maintain visual contact, but I lost radio contact 4 hours ago. The meltwater lake at the iceberg center has a surface temperature of 0.2 degrees Celsius. That slightly above freezing temperature is enough to melt through 30 centimeters of ice per day from below. When the lake drains through the ice, it creates a moulin that can carve a hole through the entire iceberg in hours. The sky is darkening from the west and the wind has shifted to northerly, which means a storm is approaching. Arctic storms can produce sustained winds of 80 kilometers per hour with wind chill dropping to -40. I have maybe 30 minutes to find shelter before the storm front reaches this position. The pressure ridge might provide a wind shadow on the leeward side if I can reach it before the rain starts. The ridge is 40 meters ahead and the rain is already reducing visibility to about 200 meters. Wind chill at -35 Celsius can cause frostbite on exposed skin within 10 minutes. My exposed arms and shoulders have been in this wind for 4 minutes, which means I have 6 minutes before tissue damage begins. The ice beneath my feet just shifted 6 inches southward and I felt the entire berg rotate 2 degrees. When an iceberg fractures along its long axis, it can split into 2 pieces within seconds without any warning. If this fracture propagates another 10 meters, it will cut the iceberg in half and I will be on the wrong side. I am crawling toward the summit because the wind is now exceeding 60 kilometers per hour and standing is impossible. Frostnip has set in on my shoulders and the skin is turning white, which means I have lost sensation in those areas. At wind chill minus 45, the body loses heat 25 times faster than at room temperature. Core body temperature drops 1 degree Celsius per hour in these conditions once shivering becomes ineffective. The rain has stopped and I can see the cloud edge moving east, which means the storm is passing. The storm lasted approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes, which matches the forecast window from the vessel. The fracture line I discovered earlier has widened to 1 meter and water is flooding through it from below. The rate of widening suggests the iceberg will completely separate along this fracture within 3 to 4 hours. I need to cross the fracture on the northern section where it narrows to 30 centimeters before it widens further. The ice on this side of the fracture is the larger fragment, which gives me more time before it flips or breaks apart.
The fracture runs like a dark vein across the iceberg's surface, with steam rising where warm ocean water meets ancient ice.
The signal flare is in my left cargo pocket, and I have exactly 1 chance to fire it before the rescue window closes. A standard marine flare burns at 1800 degrees Celsius and is visible to the naked eye at 12 kilometers in daylight. The flare is lit and burning red against the dark sky, and I can see it reflecting off the ocean surface for kilometers. The flare will burn for approximately 6 more seconds, which means I need to scan the horizon now for any responding light. At 8 kilometers distance and a vessel speed of 15 knots, the rescue boat will reach this position in approximately 17 minutes. I can hear the diesel engine now and see the searchlight sweeping the ice field, which means they have my position. The rescue boat is 200 meters from the ice edge, and I can see crew members with flashlights on the bow.
The rescue vessel searchlight sweeps across the fractured iceberg, revealing the full extent of the damage caused by 6 hours of disintegration.
The crew threw a rope ladder over the bow, and I am descending from the ice edge to the rescue boat. Thermia treatment begins with removing succulent clothing and wrapping the patient in dry insulation within 15 minutes of rescue. I am standing on the deck of the rescue boat, wrapped in a thermal blanket with a hot drink in my hands, looking back at the iceberg. The iceberg that nearly killed me is now just a white shape against the stars, growing smaller as we pull away. This single iceberg contained enough fresh water to supply a city of 1 million people for an entire year. The crew gave me dry clothes, and the medic says my frost nip is superficial and will heal without permanent damage. The medic told me that another 30 minutes on that iceberg without shelter and the frost nip would have become full frostbite, requiring surgery. I am standing on the aft deck watching the last traces of the iceberg disappear into the darkness, and I am thinking about what this ice taught me. That iceberg existed for 10,000 years before it calved, and I watched it die in less than 12 hours. This ice is disappearing, and I was a witness to its death, and that changes everything about how I see this planet. The aurora is dancing over the spot where the iceberg used to be, and it feels like the Arctic is saying goodbye. 12 hours ago, I stood on ice that was 10,000 years old, and now it is dissolved into the ocean, and I am the only one who saw it happen. The Arctic is vanishing, and I was trapped on its dying ice, and somehow that ice saved my life by making me fight for it.